technological reforms which were brought about by the government post-independence and institutional reforms in order to develop the scenario and improve the agricultural sector to a great extent. Now, Daniel, if you can tell me what were the technological reforms that were brought about during that time, reforms after independence? What were the technological reforms which were brought about? Daniel, please unmute yourself first. Yes.
Pooling the land, the farmers pool the land.
Farmers pooling the lands is an institutional reform. I'm talking about technological reforms. How did they add technology into agriculture? How did they use technology to improve agriculture?
HYV seeds.
Dan, can you help him out? Yes, HYV seeds was a green revolution which was brought about. That was a technological reform. Beyond that?
They introduced the white revolution.
Yes, the white revolution. What else? Subsidy was given on various agricultural products and equipment which was used in the farms. And what about the weather bulletins, the meteorological department being involved, and programs on TV as well as radio? So these were the technological improvements. Yeah.
Even the Kisan credit card.
Those are institutional reforms which were brought about.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The Kisan credit card, like Agnes is talking about, then we had that MSP. What was MSP?
Minimum support price.
Yes, the minimum support price which was introduced by the government. So these were institutional reforms. Besides that, we had those insurance against any natural calamities for the crops. And of course, somebody was talking about land consolidation now. Who was that who's telling me about land consolidation? I said it's not a technological reform, it's an institutional reform.
Daniel.
Yes, Daniel. So those are institutional reforms where they try to increase the size of the land holding so that the productivity increases. Aman, could you name a few of them which was brought about during that time? Things which were done to increase the land size? I can't hear you, Aman. Can't hear you. Apurva, can you tell me? You're not going through what's being taught. How would you understand next? Vaibhavi? Kanika?
Crop rotation, then multiple crop growing, all that.
Are those technological reforms I'm talking about? How did they increase the land size? We talked about collectivization, if you remember. We talked about cooperation, consolidation of land holdings. Yes, Kanika?
Consolidation of holding, collectivization.
Yes. And cooperation among the farmers, all of this was initiated so that the land size holdings increased, and so the economic productivity of the land even went up. So these were some of the technological and institutional reforms which happened during that time. So because of these institutional and technological reforms, we expected that there is some increase in productivity or some change in the economy resulting due to these reforms which were brought about. So today that's what we're going to study. We're going to study about the contribution of agriculture to the national economy. I'll share my screen now. So here is what we're going to study is the contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment and output because of these various changes that were brought about by the government during that time. Okay, so now you can see here. So what has happened during that time as what we're going to study just now is what is the contribution of the agriculture sector to the economy of our country. So we all know that our country is our economy. Every economy has a GDP. what do you understand by GDP is gross domestic production or gross domestic product. So what is the production within the geographical territory of the country is called as the gross domestic product of the country. So whatever the whole of the country within the geographical territory is earning or growing or producing is what is the gross domestic product. But we have something which is alarming in case of India is the contribution of agricultural sector in GDP is declining by the day. Yes, Piyush. You want to ask something? You raise your hand.
Ma'am, can you put it on the slideshow mode?
Vaibhavi, you need to be louder. I can't hear you.
Can you put it on the slideshow mode?
Okay, yeah. Just a minute. Yeah. Is that clear now? Okay, so we are here talking about the contribution of agricultural sector in GDP or the gross domestic product of our country. It is actually declining, okay? But the share of employment in agriculture sector has always been high in our country, right? If you compare it, this is a primary sector. If you compare it with the secondary or the tertiary sectors, the number of people who are engaged in the primary sector is more than 60% earlier, and now it has come down to about 52 to 55%. That's even today, it is more than half of our population which is involved in agriculture. So we see that Indian population is dependent on agriculture for sustenance. That is very high. But the contribution to GDP is very less as compared to those of the secondary and the tertiary sectors. They are contributing even more, though very less population as compared to that of agriculture is associated with it. So for example, like because of all of this declining share of agriculture in GDP, it will be a matter of very serious concern, because any decline and stagnation in agriculture will lead to decline in other spheres of economy, and it will have a wider implications on the society too. Now, if I can put it this way, if we take an example of two families, say one family has 10 earning members, and let's say the total earning of the family is about, hypothetically say 20,000. And there's another family which has 2 earning members and which is having an income of 16,000. So you can see the disparity over here. We have 10 people working, but earning 20,000. And we have only 2 people working in another family, which is earning 16,000. So more like like I'm talking about the similarity of the situation in India, where more of our population is involved in agriculture, but the output of the income output is less as compared to the secondary and the tertiary sectors. Thus, it is a matter of concern, because if so many people are engaged in one profession, one economic activity, but the outcome is not good, so it is a matter of concern. This will result in the depletion of resources. The standard of living of the people working in this sector will come down. They will not have sufficient income. So all these are a matter of big concern. Now, since considering the importance of agriculture in India, the government of India has made many concentrated efforts to modernize agriculture. So now we're going to see what the government has done, what the steps that the government has taken to improve on these situations. You can see here on the slides, these are the things that the government actually did to improve the situation and modernize agriculture to some extent. So first and the foremost thing, what the government did was to establishment of Indian Council of Agricultural Research. That is what is ICAR. So this body, this body is actually, it is involved. Yes, Edwin?
Nothing, ma'am.
Okay. So this body was established for guiding and managing research and education in agriculture, including horticulture, fisheries, animal sciences in the entire country. Why fisheries and animal sciences? I'm sure you understand that, because initially when we talked about agriculture, we knew that agriculture was not only about crops, it included animal husbandry as an important part of it. So they even tried to develop all those spheres. So there are about 101 ICR institutes. All this was done basically to develop the agricultural sector and to control the research in this field. So this body actually worked towards bringing about the changes so that we can see a better performance in the agricultural sector. Besides that, there were establishment of various different agricultural universities. They had these agricultural universities so that people could study in fields associated with agriculture or farming, like farming, and they can use that knowledge in improving the country's agricultural sector. So besides that, we had veterinary services and animal breeding centers. That is for the welfare, that is to improve the quality of product which we are getting from the animals. That we talked about the White Revolution. Then of course, horticulture was even developed. Growing of plants and fruits and vegetables was even, diversification of cropping was introduced so that the farmers can earn more money, because that will be a cash crop for them. And then, of course, the effect or the reach of the development of meteorology and weather forecast, so that they can make the farmer more aware. They can make the farmer more ready for whatever is in store for him. So there was research and development in the field of meteorology and weather forecast too. Apart from all of this, it also played an important role in improving the rural infrastructure, because they thought that it is even very essential to improve the rural infrastructure if we had to improve the agricultural sector to some extent, right? So these were the various different steps taken by the government to modernize agriculture when they saw that it wasn't proving to be a big enough asset for the GDP, right? Any doubts still here? Clear, children? Okay. Now, like what we are talking about, that because of all these changes, we should see some changes. This is a tabular representation of the growth in GDP in different major sectors. So after the government has done so much, so there should be a growth, right? So now you can see here in this table, it's very much evident and clear that the growth rate is increasing over the years, but it's not generating sufficient employment opportunities in the country. The growth rate actually in agriculture is decelerating, which is an alarming situation. You can see here, on an average, you can see from 1.7 to 3.2 to 4, it is increasing. But see the growth rate from 1.7 to 3.2, and from after 2012, you can see that from 3.2 to 4, the growth rate is very less. While you can see in the industries and services, the contribution to GDP is very high, 8.3, 9.6. But the population involved in the secondary and the tertiary sectors is very less as compared to the agricultural sector. And see the jump, see the rate of increase is very high, from 7.4 to 9.6. At least in services it is sustained. But here, though there is an increase, the rate is very less and the number of people involved in it is high. But you have to see that it is reducing by the day, because if in 1961 or 50s, if it was 61%, today it is just 52%. So the amount of employment in agricultural sector is also reducing. So all of these are reasons of concern. Right? Why is this happening? So let's study on a dimension, one dimension which is given here is about today's farmer. Today's Indian farmer is facing a big challenge from the international competition. So what is this international competition that our farmer is facing? Now today's farmer has to compete with a product that is coming from the international market. Okay, so if you see, we have crops and products which are coming from the international market, and now we have those crops, we have to compete with those crops, those products. When these products come, what is the concern? Is our quality poor? No, the concern is not quality, because as we have studied earlier, we were even talking about coffee being one of the world's best kind of coffee that we sell. So it's not the quality. So what is the other thing that you see when you go to a market, when you buy a product besides quality?
Ma'am, quantity.
Quality? Besides quality, what else do you see? Aman, I can't hear you. I don't know, something wrong with your
Ma'am,
audio.
if it's affordable or not.
Yes. So who's that? Who told me this? Affordable?
Darshil.
Ma'am. Okay.
Okay. Darshil is talking about the price. The second thing that we see when we buy a product, first being the quality, second the price. This is where India is not being able to compete with the foreign market, because their prices are very less as compared to ours. So why our prices are very high? Because the government support given to the farmer in the in USA or the European countries, in the foreign countries, is much higher as compared to the support given to our Indian farmers. For example, if an Indian farmer, the cost price for a particular product is 100 rupees, and the foreign farmer even has a cost price of 100, the government subsidizes the product or the crop by 50 rupees. So the cost price for the product for the farmer in US will be how much? If the government has given 50, what will be the price of the cost price?
50.
Correct. Now, in case of India, the government subsidizes it by 20 rupees. So what would be the price for the Indian
80.
farmer? 80. Now, if the cost price is 50 for a foreign product, so he'll be able to sell it even at 60. He will be able to sell it 70. If he doesn't want a good profit, he may even sell it at 50. But the Indian farmer, even if he wants to, he cannot sell it below 80. He can't, because its cost price is 80. So how can he sell it below that? So because of that, if products from the foreign markets are available at much lower a price, we are not being able to compete with them. So that is a big concern today. So this is one important thing which is happening because of the international market coming in. The second important thing is moreover the reduction in the import prices. What is happening is we have an open economy today, right? So we have reduction in the custom duties, the excise duties, taxes have reduced. So because of which the foreign products are coming in and we are not being able to compete with them. So these are some of the major reasons which is bringing about a decline in the agricultural sector to a great extent. Okay. So because of this, it is very detrimental to the agriculture in our country, and farmers are withdrawing their investment from the agriculture, causing a downfall in the employment in the agricultural sector to a great extent. Now it's not that now you cannot see our government as villains here. It's not that our government doesn't want to help the farmers. So why is it happening? But why is the government reducing the subsidy on fertilizers? So if it is reducing the subsidy on fertilizers, or if it is not helping the it is actually reducing the public investment in agriculture. If it's doing all of this, the cost price is increasing. But the fact being, the number of people who are involved in agriculture in the foreign countries is very less as compared to that of India, right? So you see, they are bigger economies. Their population involved in farming is very less. So they can help the farmers much more than what the farmer the Indian government can do for our farmers. If you take, if I can explain it in simpler form, like you have two families. One family has 2 children, the other family has 6 children, right? The parents would try to give their best to their children, right? So if the parent who has 2 children would be able to give everything that he wants to give to his children. But the other one, even if he wants, he cannot provide everything to the 6 children because the number of children are very high. So that's what is the situation in case of India too. So we have a large amount of population which is associated with agriculture. So government cannot subsidize everything for such a big population. And we are not talking about the economy here. the economy in the foreign countries are bigger economies, than they're much richer as compared to us. We are yet developing countries. They are much developed countries as compared to us, and the population involved in farming is less. So this is what is resulting in this distress amongst the farmers to a great extent. Why is the slide not moving? Okay, here. So these are the reasons over a period of time which is resulting in declining the contribution of agriculture to the national economy and the employment and output. So this is about the contribution of agriculture to the national economy. Any doubts on this, children?
No, ma'am.
Anybody else want any clarity of why it is declining? What is the competition that we are facing?
No, ma'am.
Sudesh, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anybody else clear with this? So the concern is basically about the declining GDP, though the employment in this sector is very high as compared to the other sectors. So that is one primary concern in case of our country. And this is happening because of the international competition that we are facing, and also because of the opening up of the economy. That is what is known as globalization. I hope you've heard about this term globalization. Pranav?
Yes, ma'am.
What about globalization? Anybody who can
Yes.
tell me what globalization is? Okay, I'll show you something which will make you understand better what globalization is. Where is it? Just a second, children.
Ma'am, when the companies from other countries influence the economy in our country, it is known as globalization.
I can't hear you. What did you say, Aman?
Ma'am, when the companies from other countries influence the economy in our country, it is known as globalization.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, they're influencing. Why? Because it's almost becoming an